Drive Home with Stacey and Jay Spoo, East Coast Radio.
Well, right about now, we're about to get into a very important conversation, especially if you are a parent of a boy child.
Exactly. So if you are currently raising a daughter who happens to be thriving at school, or maybe a son who is quietly falling behind, or you're just a parent who wants to give their kid the best possible start in life, this is a conversation that you're going to need and want to listen to and share with your other parent friends, right? So as we reflect on International Women's Day, that was this past Sunday, new insights from the Thrive by 5 Index show girls in South Africa are outperforming boys in early learning and development. But what does that really mean for our kids, for their future? We are joined now by Dr Onyinye from Sesame Workshop South Africa to unpack it. Doctor, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's amazing to be in your show and excited to share some of our insights at Sesame Workshop International South Africa.
Thank you so much. Now, the first question we have for you is the Thrive by 5 Index shows that only about 42% of children in South Africa are developmentally on track, which is already quite a number. Yet the girls are outperforming the boys, right? And that's across most indicators. So what do you think is driving that gap, and specifically so early in childhood?
Well, thank you again. Part of what we've seen is some of it is socialization. We see, for example, girls from a socialization point of view are often encouraged to perform more cognitive-related or cognitive development-related activities that improve cognitive outcomes.
Yeah.
And boys are more encouraged to go and do more motor skills related. So you would see boys go out and play ball, go out and climb trees.
Yeah.
And so we saw, for example, in the Thrive by 5 Index, and even in our own baseline assessments that we've done at Sesame Workshop, that many times the way we raise girls is very different from the way we raise boys.
Yeah.
And a lot of our results, or the way then that manifests in terms of child outcomes is demonstrating that. That's one. Secondly, for the past, what I would call decade plus, we have been prioritizing girls' education. There has been a lot of focus that girls have been left behind.
Yeah.
And a lot of focus and sentiment has been, let's make sure that no girl child is left behind. There has been heavy investment in girl-related education, and that has yielded returns.
Yeah.
There has been less focus on boys because we felt that the patriarchal culture in the African continent and many continents favors boys rather than girls. And so that's what part of what we're seeing manifesting, that intentional investment is paying off, plus also the socialization and the norms that we see in the way we raise those two types of children.
Yeah, shut up. I think you're absolutely right in saying, let's make sure the girl child is prioritized going forward in terms of education.
Necessarily so, yeah.
She must take up space, and she must really, really be given an opportunity to shine and dominate and do the best that she can. We've seen this happen in education. Are we also seeing the results of those investments here in South Africa in the classroom? Because this campaign of Girl Child Must Shine has been sort of like a global thing. But here in South Africa, has there been any change according to your research?
Absolutely. If you look at already the Thrive by 5 Index, girls are outperforming boys. This Thrive by 5 Index is not a global research. It's a South African research. It's conducted in South Africa with South African contextually relevant instruments and tools. So it's not a global report. So this is South Africa. And this is also we see in our matric results. Go and look at our matric results. Girls now make up 56% of matric candidates. We see, and boys 44%. We see majority of the dropouts happening between grade 10 and 12 is boys, not girls.
That's true.
So all of the research is not, it's South African research.
So this is I find it quite a fascinating conversation. In case you missed it earlier on, Doctor was explaining to us that there's been this big kind of push, right, for girl children to prioritize them, their education, the taking up of the space, the having a seat at the table, and that is something that's contributed to these findings. But something else we want to talk about is that the girls, although they are excelling academically, we are still seeing women underrepresented in leadership in certain industries. So where do you think, Doctor, the disconnect is happening between the classroom and ultimately the workplace?
So the first thing I just want to say is we have something to celebrate. We often talk about all the horrible things happening in our country, but we often don't step back and celebrate where we have really made good progress. And I think South Africa, our government, stakeholders, advocacy partners need to pat themselves in the back to say we've done well as a country. But we also look at the unintended consequences on the boy child and say, how do we ensure that we don't leave boy children behind? Because that's the new challenge that we are seeing, that we don't want to accelerate girls at the expense of boys. So that said, we know that we've seen more girl children in education, and doing exceptionally well in education. But we haven't necessarily seen that translate in terms of career progression. We still know that in terms of income parity, that our male colleagues or male counterparts are out earning on every level a female counterpart. We know that we're still struggling in leadership, especially C-suite and boards, senior management C-suite and boards. We still know that hasn't translated in the workplace specifically. And I think it's primarily because we have perhaps pushed one particular agenda without necessarily also looking at what that could mean if we're enabling more girls into the workplace. How do we ensure that systematically translates as well in terms of their leadership journey? I think we haven't been as intentional and as we could be in that space. And there's a lot more work we could do as a country, we can do as companies, and I dare say, if I use the word that we're still sitting in a male-dominated, it's a man's world in the workplace. And the question is, how do we bring men into this conversation?
Exactly.
And how do we encourage men to make concerted efforts to change status quo?
Agreed.
Open the door and allow for women to also take up space when it comes to leadership roles as well, instead of running a patriarchy system. That's what needs to happen. Now, Doctor, I want to talk to you about balancing the scale, because yes, I'm for the female taking up space from a learning perspective, academically thriving, but I am a father of a son, and I would love to see him thrive as well. What should South Africa be doing next that's big to prioritize education systems that work for both girls and boys? What should happen there? Because I want all the kids
to thrive simultaneously. Yes, everybody.
Yes. What should happen there? Yeah.
So two things I think we should do differently. If you look at our country currently, women are seen as championing the economy of care in terms of children's development, when it comes to children's education and development, our fathers are often leaving it to the mothers as the mother's job. And yet, every single research has shown that when fathers are involved in the development of the child's outcome is exponentially achieved. So let's start by charity begins at home. Where are fathers?
Present dads.
We're not just farm donors where we just donate and then the mother must do all of the work. What is the example that we are leaving as fathers?
That's powerful.
So I really want to throw out a challenge there, starting with you, to say, can you become a father engagement champion, to encourage fathers to say, I'm not just a provider. Provision is not just about money.
That's it.
It's more than that. It's about being present. It's about modeling behavior, that education is important, that I'm intentional about accelerating boys' development as well as girls' development in their academic career and all the way to the workplace career. So that's one. The second element of it is looking at where are we losing boys and how do we put in place systems in our education system as teachers, as parents, as the ecosystem partners, to ensure that no one's left behind. And so there's work. For example, if you look between grade 10 and grade 12, we see it's not just happening in South Africa, it's happening all over Africa. We see a lot of boy dropouts. What are the program design and strategies and campaigns that will enable us to encourage our boy children, but all children, to recognize that education is critical for their development. And then finally, in terms of unemployment, a lot of children emerge as young people who finish whatever high school or finish university and they don't have jobs.
Yeah.
And so the big question is, if I don't have jobs, why should I continue? And so we need to create effective pathways that encourage children, especially again, boy children, that there is hope, there's a future, and that they will become economically productive when they emerge as young adults.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, Doctor. Let's carry all the children forward. Let's empower all the kids so that we can, in South Africa, have a brighter future. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us and sharing on the insight and the research that has been found. This has been really insightful, something for the parents across KZN to think about. Thank you.
Absolutely. That is Dr. Onyinye. She is from the Sesame Workshop South Africa. They've just dropped these results from the Thrive by 5 Index. If you would like to read up a little bit more about it and also understand what happens in between, where are the boy kids between grade 10 and grade 12? We have more information for you. Go to ecr.co.za, click on shows.
Drive Home with Stacey and Jay Spoo, East Coast Radio.